Hello, my name is David Dumble. I'm the throws coach at Oregon State University. I'm here back again this week to give you some more thoughts and ideas of how I teach the South African. South African is a great teaching tool, almost bridging the gap between our stand throws and half turns and our full throw. So this is a very key movement as we learn how to move across the ring, generate a lot more force, and to be able to create some good throws. So let's go on and I'll show you some more of my thoughts on how I teach this drill. Okay, here we are at the discus ring. I wanted to be able to talk about the South African and some of the cues and ideas that I teach as we learn this movement and some of the benefits of the South African and why you want to do it. There's a reason why we go through a certain progression as we teach this movement. We started with the stand throw, we've gone through the half turns, and as you get better with those movements, the South African becomes even easier. So as I talk, I'm going to suggest or assume that you already have a pretty good understanding of the middle and the half turn and the delivery. So we're going to talk about the South African itself and how we go about the drill. When we start this movement, it's important, again, we start in the right spot. As you see, I have a line right down the middle of the ring, so it helps us give an idea for alignment. When we typically start our full throw, we're going to straddle the line, and from this stance, as I pivot around, this is where I'm going to start my South African. It's very important that we start in this position because as we drive, we're going to drive in a straight line pretty much down that left sector. So as I drive down that right sector or left sector, my feet are going to be able to end up in a straight line, heel toe, like you've been taught on your stand throws. So starting from this position, I'm going to start with my left arm facing the direction of the throw, discus back. And one of the important things that I really discuss, it makes it a little bit tougher, but it's important that we mimic the full throw, is we start with our weight already over that left side. If we start on our right side and get this rocking motion, we will help ourselves get across the ring, but unfortunately we don't have that rocking motion during the full throw. As I teach these drills, it's important that we try to mimic everything that we would be doing in the full throw. So I teach being able to start in this position with everything pretty much loaded over my left side. I can put some weight on my right side as I start this, but as I begin this motion, it's important that I start with good posture, my eyes looking the direction of the throw, shoulders in line, and I begin my drive. As we start to execute this South African throw or drill, I think it's really important that you understand what are the mechanisms that are going to move you across the ring. And the most important thing are the legs. So we're going to talk about the left leg being able to drive and extend as you're coming across the ring, but also that right knee coming up. So this knee up, toe up position is really important in all human movement when it comes to running, sprinting, jumping. Obviously, we're going to be doing some form of jump across the ring, so we're going to be able to bring and swing that right knee up into position. As we do that, it's important that we do it in relative position to that left arm. So we're going to talk about bringing the knee up to the left arm or elbow to be able to create almost like this X feeling, right? This cross. So as we start to bring everything through, it's going to be the legs that are going to be able to drive us and put us into a good position with separation. Okay. Once you're comfortable jumping and driving out of the back into the middle of the throw, we'll start talking about the way we're going to land, and that's very important as well. A couple things that we talk about is making sure we have correct alignment, that we're eventually trying to get across the ring. If you're young and you can't drive across the ring right away, that's okay. It's really important first that you be able to create the right angle. So we don't want to land on top of our right foot, we want to land with a little bit of angle. So as we rotate into position, we also have that same angle over our right foot like we look at in our power position. Also talk about the right foot and the direction it's supposed to land. I use the cue of landing at 90 degrees from the direction of the throw. And to me, that's important because we want to be able to give ourselves a chance to feel that landing, feel the pivoting, and the tucking of our left foot as we're finding the power position. Some people will want to turn a little bit further, and that's okay. I just frown on the idea of landing, turning a little bit too far in the air and landing in this position because a lot of times when we land here, we don't have enough time to execute a good stand throw or delivery. So we try to work on being able to find this position where we land 90 degrees from the throw. We also want to talk about keeping our chest square to the throw as long as we can. So if I can land in this type of position as I'm coming through, that's very good because the discus is back and I have some separation as I'm tucking and reaching my left. To build on the half turn, we want to make sure that we can be able to find that axis on the right side and tuck and reach our left. When we finish this South African, we want to be in a position where our left shoulder is down, our discus is up, our eyes are out, maybe looking back beyond the back of the ring, and now we're over our right side to continue that rotation all the way through for the delivery. Okay, so let me do another example here. Okay, and as I landed, you can see me lower onto my right side, keeping that foot pivot on the right foot, keeping that heel high, and having correct alignment. Another important cue that I was taught in high school and became very important to me as a thrower is having a good focal point. So the focal point that we want when we're coming out of a South African is right down the middle of the sector. So I'm going to pick a spot looking on the horizon and be able to stare at it as long as I can. Ideally, I'm going to stare at it as I've landed on the right side and as long as I can, even as I'm tucking. It's almost impossible to feel that or still see that focal point as your left foot lands, but sometimes in a drill where you're stopping the power position, it's possible. From there, I'm learning that I'm not turning with my head or my shoulders, I'm letting my legs start to get me into the right position. As you start to get comfortable hitting the right positions with the right alignment, we can start talking about the rhythm, the flow of this drill. And it's going to be really important that you start to understand that part because we're going to be bringing a lot more energy into the throw. So the rhythm is really, one of my definitions of rhythm is when we're working and when we're not. During this whole movement, we're going to be driving very intensely at some movements and we'll be very passive and relaxed at other movements. So some of the rhythm that we're going to be looking for when we talk about a South African is being able to drive out of the back, and then we're in the air, floating, relaxing, waiting for the ground to come to us, and as we land, then we're still patient turning. We're not trying to rush the turning, but we're going to be able to start tucking and reaching the left to get ahead into the right position. So you're going to have this work, wait, landing or working phase, right? We're also going to be looking for, we can talk about it audially. We can talk about it with a certain sound, pushing off your left and then the feet landing. So it might be push, right, left. As you start to take these drills and these movements from the South African into a throw, the one piece that we can start to talk about is also the discus. How that discus is going to be carried as you start to jump across the ring, the orbit that's going to be start to create with the high point in the direction of the throw, and the long lever, the long time it takes to be able to bring the discus all the way around. So as we start like the half turn, we're going to start with our palm up. As we jump in, approximately right about here, we start to turn that discus over and it starts to stretch out into the direction of the throw. One of the cues for you as you start to really become aware of your upper body and your arm as that discus is going is almost like a stretch. You're going to try to let that discus stretch and pull away from you. One of the cues that I've learned was called put it on the shelf. So you want to bring the discus up, put it on the shelf, and wait for it. Let it sit there as you find your power position. Okay? The discus won't actually stop there, but sometimes that's the way it feels as the athlete. Okay? So the rhythm of the discus and the rhythm of the feet are sometimes different. So I talk about with my athletes making sure you understand the rhythm of the feet and the legs and the motion there first. It almost becomes a pattern, permanent, before we start to worry about listening to the path of the discus. Okay? But on this one, once we start to get a pretty good understanding of the legs, we'll start feeling and understanding what the arm and the discus are going to be doing on their throw. I hope some of these thoughts and cues have helped you with your understanding of the South African and you can see yourself improving along the way. Go out and get those drills in so that you know you can move through these positions better. Please make sure that you're asking questions to a lot of your coaches so that you can understand the movement as you move through this camp and you learn this drill. Thank you for your time and good luck with your training.